Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:03. I am your mayor-elect, Todd Lambs, and I will let everyone else introduce themselves around our table. To my left,
Kevin Thompson, Assistant City Manager. Jason Ferguson, Police Chief. Good afternoon, David Kelly, City Manager.
City Clerk.
and Yvonne, can you, we can't see who is on your screen, so can you introduce the panelists by name?
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to stop sharing the screen for a second because it's covering up everything. Okay. So we also have Jody Kane. We have Colleen Halbum Wallace House. We have Debbie Howe, Anna Reach for Homes. We also have Bruce Shinzu from Laco Associates and Jordan Law, Laco Associates. I think that's it.
Thank you, Yvonne, I appreciate that. We're going to move on down the line to the Dry Creek Rancheria proposed home key application. I'd like to start with that one since it's the majority of our time. So who is going to be representing that? Is it going to be Laco with Bruce?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, great. We are expecting a representative from Dry Creek Rancheria and also a couple of consultants. So Laco Associates, we're a civil engineering and planning firm, and we're assisting the Dry Creek Rancheria with a home key application. Kevin informed me that members of the committee are somewhat familiar with home key, but I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and run you through a little background on it. So the individuals that are should be joining us tonight. Dave Cate is the housing manager with Dry Creek. Lieben Shao is a principal with Mosaic Urban Development, and they're a financial consultant to the team. Kate Rose is with the California Coalition for Rural Housing. She's also a technical consultant. And then Jordan Block is our grant writing specialist with Laco Associates. So home key primarily was set up as a result of the COVID crisis and the homeless crisis we have in California, actually nationwide, but primarily in California. This is a state Department of Housing and Community Development program, and it's intended to rapidly house homeless people or people that are at risk of homelessness. And the strategy is to convert commercial properties and other buildings to permanent or interim housing for homeless individuals. We're looking at utilizing the home key program. There's a broad range of housing types that you can develop, but we're primarily looking at taking a motel and converting it into supportive housing. The first round of home key was last year, and there was $600 million available. And with that, thus far, 8,200 individuals were housed and almost 6,000 units were created. That was as of a couple of days ago. This current round, you can see that there's $1.45 billion. So there's over twice as much money available in this round coming from Coronavirus Recovery Fund and then also from the State General Fund. Of that, there's a set aside of 5%, which is 72 million for tribes. So that's what we'll be submitting an application for. And just as a general guide, the baseline amount per unit is about 150,000 per door for a studio motel room. And if you have chronically homeless clientele that you're going to be serving, that dollar amount goes up to 200,000 a door. The eligible uses, you can see a list of them. We're primarily looking at utilizing the funds for acquisition and rehab, and then to capitalize some of the operating expenses for the development. There was a number of housing bills that had been passed over the last couple of years to make it easier to develop affordable housing. And when Project Home Key was created, AB 140 gives Home Key sweeping. It's a sweeping streamlining bill that essentially deems any home key funded project as consistent with any zoning and land use regulations, and it's exempt from any kind of discretionary review or approval process. So it was a way to, in a short term, to get units opened to the, to the homeless population. So that's ministerial that's what the legislature did. And then these are just some of the other bills that were passed that make it easier for jurisdictions to develop home key units. We're all familiar with the ABAG's RENA numbers and the city of Cloverdale. These are the current numbers for the regional housing needs assessment for Cloverdale. We're 7 years into this cycle. There's 13 months remaining, and you can see that in many of the categories, there's some work to do. There's a number of units that Cloverdale needs to come up with, in particular, very low income units and low income units. So the very low income units are the ones that we're targeting with Home Key. So that'll do a lot. That'll go a long way to help Cloverdale with its RENA numbers. A little bit of timeline of Home Key. It's an over-the-counter application. They started taking them in mid-September, and they'll take them through May of next year. There's a bonus if we submit an application by January 31st of $10,000 a unit. So we're going to try to, we're targeting a mid to late January submittal. The funds, if we're awarded, we'll know within 45 days of submitting the application if we're awarded funds. We'll have 8 months from the time of the award to expend the funds to acquire the property, and then to finish the development, the rehab. We've got 12 months from the award date. The site that we've selected, this is the second site in Cloverdale that we've looked at. This one is the most promising, the Vineyard Valley Inn, North Cloverdale. It's a 15-unit motel with one manager's unit. It was purchased about 11 years ago, and the new owners have been over time renovating the units, and they're in pretty good shape. This is these are some of the newer photos on the bottom, and then the ones from their website are up on top. Most of the units they've been able to develop little kitchenette units with a 2 or 4 burner stove, refrigerator, microwave, and a sink with a garbage disposal. So that meets a lot of the needs for supportive housing units. Those that don't have a kitchenette have a microwave and a refrigerator, and we'll need to add sinks into those to make them make it able for the residents to prepare meals. There's washers and dryers available currently, and there'll be room to add additional laundry service. So that's the Home Key project in a nutshell. And now we'd like to be able to answer any questions you might have. It's interesting, it's one of those weird situations. This program was created to allow jurisdictions to get units open. So there's no approval process that's necessary other than approving building permits. So there's no discretionary approvals that the city has to grant. So ask away. Jordan and I are here. I don't see anyone else from our.
So Bruce, can I jump in there actually? So
Yes,
we do
please.
have 2 other folks from our team here. We have Kate Rose with Cal Rural Housing and Lieben Shao with Mosaic Urban Development, who are supporting the tribe and providing technical assistance on the application. So if they could be added as panelists for the Q&A, that would be fantastic.
Okay, could you say the names one more time?
Yes, Kate Rose
Okay, got it.
and Lieben Shao.
Got it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Want to start with the audience first, and let them get their questions out, so you don't ask them all.
Chair, my recommendation would be to start with any questions you may have, and then open it up.
Okay. So I guess this would go to Bruce, since I don't think Dave Kate is here yet from the tribe. for the Rancheria. So I would like to start with some of my questions. Let's start with the simple, obvious one. What are we gonna do with people that live there now? You're adding to our homeless population.
It's a motel. There's they're rented on a daily basis, so they'll just stop leasing or stop renting motel rooms to individuals at a certain date once we close escrow. So no one will be displaced. There's no relocation that has to be taken care of on that.
Well, knowing how that motel works, I have to disagree that anybody that's staying there is usually longer term.
No, it's a motel. I visited there last Thursday, and there were 2 guests, and all the other units were vacant.
Okay. So then the next question is, when you guys purchase this, who can be there from the Rancheria? It's next to a school site, so are you going to allow registered sex offenders, registered drug users, people on parole, probation, violent offenders? Are you going to be allowed to be in that facility?
The Dry Creek Rancheria is going to have rules for occupancy, a code of conduct. Jordan, did you want to speak to that? Because Jordan has experience with Home Key in Mendocino County. He helped the county there get a Home Key open.
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to that process, and I think I don't want to speak for the tribe here, of course, but from our understanding of their intent. So there's been other models of Home Key in other areas that have essentially established behavioral agreements and code of conducts, and really done sort of a tiered process to bring people into the program where they have essentially, for lack of a better term, I don't think this is the phrase that's been used elsewhere, but a probationary period where they are brought into the program and given an opportunity to see if they can and function in that environment with the code of conduct, noise restrictions, guidelines on how to treat other residents, people visiting the property, people adjacent to the property, and see if those folks are a good fit for this type of housing and this type of program. And after they get through that probationary period, that's when, at least in other models, and I think what the tribe is considering, there would be a lease agreement entered into. And I expect there's going to be a screening process the way there is for any other program like this to see who's going to be eligible to enter into the program beyond just the financial eligibility. And actually, while I'm speaking here, I believe Dave Cade just joined as a participant as well, and it would be fantastic to add him to the panel here also.
Yeah, I'm really concerned because this is less than 40 feet from a school site, an elementary school site. And I personally know 3 of the tribal members that homeless in our area have 3 of the 4 problems that I just mentioned, being sex offenders, drug offenders, or violent offenders, along with being on probation or parole. So it's really, you're creating another problem for us more than helping anyone else. And I'm trying to figure out how you're going to handle that in a truthful way, not we're going to screen them. What does the screening process look like? How do you tell them no? Do you tell these people no because they're the homeless people of that tribe or of that rancheria? Are we, taking them on next to an elementary school and just believing you're going to screen them correctly?
One of the key elements of Home Key is that supportive services need to be provided to the residents to kind of help acclimate them to living, for lack of a better term, for living indoors again, and to get back on their feet. So there's going to be active on-site property management, and as Jordan had mentioned, there are going to be rules, and if people are unable to, in the first weeks of their occupancy, if they're unable to live up to those rules, then they'll be asked to leave. I mean, I've been doing affordable housing in Sonoma County for over 30 years, and that's a common argument that we hear from members of the public. You're going to be bringing, quote unquote, those people into our community, and they're going to bring a host of problems with them. But we've found over time that if you have active property management, you have supportive services, and you're engaging with the residents on a daily basis, you can keep a number of these things from happening. I don't exactly know whether, what the screening process is going to look like for each individual, but those are things that we're going to be working with the tribe. And maybe Kate or Lieben, do you have comments on that?
If you need to speak, you will need to unmute yourself.
Even you may have more background on this than I do. Do you want to step in and maybe I'll chime in if I have anything to add?
Sure. Don't want to step on any toes here because I think Dave, has Dave joined us?
I don't see his name.
Okay. So what I can say is that the Home Key program this is not the first generation of the Home Key program. This is the second generation of it. And I think we can see its success across the state in terms of those wraparound services really working to enable people to move from a situation of homelessness to being housed again, and to go through a program that really enables them to reconnect with their community. And also, I think one of the things that Bruce said was there is this perception that folks are coming from outside of the community. In my understanding of this for Dry Creek is that they're looking to house tribal members and tribal families. So these are not folks from outside of the community. These are folks who live here today, and enabling them to access housing and robust services. So the Home Key program requires by design that those robust wraparound services be present. Kate, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I think you covered it, Lieben. I, in some of the work that I've done in the past on housing elements, I know that kind of the current leaning of the state is that local jurisdictions not impose proximity requirements between emergency shelters or housing for people experiencing homelessness and other uses. But I think that's, I think it's more important to focus on, you know, the fact that this project will be for tribal members and members of the community.
Okay, you actually just kind of summed my concerns up in a nutshell. That we're not supposed to worry about proximities to school districts and things along those lines. You're basically saying we're just supposed to give people a house and think that that's going to make it all better. It doesn't make a sex offender less of a sex offender next to an elementary school if you put them in a house. And it makes me very nervous when I know that those are the tribal members that are out on our rivers currently. Now, when the management money runs out, who's going to pay for the manager to be there at that facility? And is it going to be put into a federal trust, or is our law enforcement going to be able to continue to enforce laws there and things along those lines? I mean, when does our window shut off and the tribe take it over, and then we have even more issues? There's a lot of concern here by myself, and I'm the first one to talk. I don't know how everyone else is going to act, but you know, this is there's so many red flags here. I don't even know where to start on this.
The intent of the development is not to go into trust. It's going to be a fee property in perpetuity. At least that's the understanding for now. With regard to the registered sex offender, I don't have an answer to that because I'm not that familiar with, you know, with those types of regulations on who can or cannot be housed. But I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you're a registered sex offender and you're on probation or parole, that you're restricted from residing within so many feet of a school or a place where children are present. So if that's the case, then I think they would be restricted from renting or being a resident of the development. But I don't want to say for certain, but that seems that's at least my understanding for now. Jordan, did you want to weigh in on that?
That is also my understanding, Bruce. I do want to just chime in. I do see Dave hopped into the attendees room here. I'd like to get him added just so he has an opportunity to chime in.
Okay, and Chair Lance, there are 2 hands raised on the panel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna. I work with Reach for Home, and I'm sorry to kind of jump in on this conversation. So Reach for Home is also pending to hear back from a project HomeKey, and our understanding is that registered sex offenders cannot come onto the projects. So during intake, we would screen for that. And I'm not sure about your project, but ours would include, in Healdsburg, ours would include security. So, and all of these extra supportive services have been added to ensure that this is a productive and safe and, helping people out of these situations, but it's still housing first. So chronically homeless people do sometimes come with, criminal background, but at least I know that we try to screen for sex offenders. I hope that was helpful. Sorry.
Then we have
towards the sex offenders, but not towards the violent offenders or parolees or drug users and things along those lines. David Kelly, you're next, please. I would love to hear.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. This is David Kelly, Bruce. I have a couple questions for you relative to really the management of the units. You mentioned 15 units, and I'm just wondering, is the current proposal to provide housing for 15 individuals, meaning is it one person per unit? That's kind of one question. And once those individuals are in those units, you mentioned permanent supportive housing. Does that mean that those individuals could stay there, indefinitely, or do you anticipate as part of the program that there may be some timeline for those individuals, meaning they're there for a year and there's some goal of transitioning them to otherwise other market housing, affordable housing, or permanent housing besides the project HomeKey housing.
Hey, Bruce.
I'll pause there, Bruce.
Bruce, this is Dave. Could I answer that?
Yeah, that'd be great, Dave. Thanks.
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to just clarify a few things. I had a really hard time getting in. So I tried to bounce over to my phone. It didn't work, but I'm glad to be here and answer your questions about the project. What the tribe has planned for the 15 units is 1 or 2 people as on-site managers. There will be 15 units. There may be some couples, mostly singles. The mix will be probably 10 units permanent, 5 units transitional. And within that, that could change later on. Some of those units could be permanent. The transitionals could be made permanent later. What we're looking at here is a situation where tribal members can't even afford to live in their native lands. Yes, there's a vetting process for everybody that's going to come in here. It's pretty similar to what I heard your city clerk say. We know our members, and we know that there are some members that are would be problematic in a situation like this, and they will probably not get past the front door. We have probably 24 tribal members that are already residents of Cloverdale. I've helped people buy homes in Cloverdale over the last 10 years. It's a good opportunity for the tribe to serve a population that's traditionally underserved. We have a NAHASDA grant that it recurs annually that will pay for the operations cost of this, and we will budget for that as long as the tribe owns the motel. And that's going to be a long time, but this is a hard situation for the tribe because we have a limited amount of dollars to serve people, and we can't afford to put these people up in motels full-time, year-round. We've done that a bit with the tribe's ERA money. We've worked with these families for a long time. The tribe has a rehousing specialist on staff. The tribe is getting $250,000 from the state to serve disabled homeless. We have just met with Northern Circle Indian Housing Authority. They have quite a bit of experience in managing housing stock throughout the Northern California. They're going to be our management partner on the project. If there's a gap, we're going to fill it. Is there any other questions regarding the management?
Thank you, Dave, for your response. And just speaking from the city manager's perspective, I do think this is an important enough local project that we coordinate and discuss the presentation before the city council when that's convenient, to allow city council, one, to keep them apprised, and allow the full city council to kind of offer perspective on your proposed project at the city hotel.
So people are commenting that they can't hear us on the microphone, but it actually sounds like.
Yeah.
So I think if you do talk in here, we need to hold the microphone. So if that helps,
Please.
I'm trying to do this.
Thank you.
Yvonne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yvonne, can you let Leanne Fabian go next? It looks like her hand's been up a while.
Okay, Leanne, you may speak now.
Hi, everyone. I have a few concerns too, like Todd said. All right, this vetting process needs to be specified. If this is a housing first project, which Project Home Key is, housing first, in order to qualify for funding, there can be no criminal background checks for the applicants and no requirement for sobriety. So there's that. Someone mentioned families will be in there, although the gentleman just said it will just mostly singles, some couples. So if there's families, they're going to be mixed with people that have no background checks. Not only that, it's right by the elementary school. Robust wraparound services. What the heck does that term mean? That's just a bunch of gobbledygook, in my opinion. And who's providing these supportive services on site? So there's supposed to be 2 on-site managers. Are they qualified to provide the robust wraparound services that you're speaking about? Yeah, they're. So that's my major concerns. What is the vetting process? Stop just throwing out these big words without being specific on what that is. And if this is a housing first program, which I know Project Home Key is, then that negates any vetting process, because you can't, there's to be entered into the coordinated entry in the housing first system, there is no requirement. There cannot be any requirement for these background checks, and there's no requirement for these people to be sober. So I just need a lot more clarification needs to be had, and this does not belong in a subcommittee meeting, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Would you like Colleen?
Yes. Colleen, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Colleen Halbom from the Wallace House. I'm just curious, do we have an estimate as to how many chronically homeless we would actually be able to place there from Cloverdale? Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Maybe Dave, do you know the answer on that one?
We have about 45 members that have experienced homelessness at times over the last 3 years.
So Dave, out of those 45, how many would pass a complete background check to be able to live there next to an elementary school?
Well, we don't have a process of giving people background checks before they enter the program. With respects to the concerns that were just mentioned, we understand that. We wraparound services include partnership with Sonoma County Indian Health, other agencies. The tribe operates by itself approximately 20 other programs, including Indian child welfare programs, family reunification. We have a behavioral health project that we've just sought funding for. And there are other resources specific to Indian country that we will tap into. And as I mentioned before, we do have a partnership agreement with Northern Circle Indian Housing. They have a ROS program, Resident Opportunity Supportive Services. The tribe is also developing 25 elder housing units that will hopefully be annexed soon into the city. That has a community center. There's plans for services there. That's one of the reasons we liked the idea of having this property up there too, is that we can share resources between the two programs, and we could do programming up there for the community at large that's living in Cloverdale.
Dave, I'm glad you brought that one up, because when we met with Chairman Wright, he made it very clear that he did not want the troublemakers of the Rancheria living with the elders and next to our school site that was there.
Right.
It is an empty lot at this point, but now you guys are talking about putting 40 feet from an elementary school. I'm not understanding the thought process on that, as you're 3 miles away from your community center that they're not supposed to have access to because it's only for the elder care in that area. So it kind of confuses me as to what we were told and sold on the first project to what we're hearing now. And so could you clarify for me?
Well, there's no intention to dump the troublemakers, as you said, into that home key project. They are community members. Some of them have faced some challenges, that we've all seen our own family members go through at time to time. There is a benefit to having this and the other project operating at the same time. There's an opportunity here to not only fill a gap, but also to increase the tribe's participation and working relationships with Cloverdale and other cities and throughout the area. The tribe is one of.
Yeah, the next question I would have, since we're talking about this, is how does this benefit Cloverdale? Because you're taking away a hotel tax, which we get a 6-figure income from for the city. And so that will be gone by doing this. So what else is it going to do? I'm trying to, how does it benefit?
Well, the tribe is not trying to take away a resource from you. In fact, the tribe right now is involved in development plans for Dutcher Road down there, the 20-acre site next to the elder housing project. And part of the plans there will probably include a hotel of somewhere between 100 and 150 units. So I think there's a net gain there for the city.
Well, I'll simply say, if I can add in, I appreciate the information. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate everything. Of course, my concern would be from a response standpoint, and all the points are very valid. I think it's a little premature for me to sit here and say what problems we could have without really knowing where we're at. But it does, raise some concerns that we definitely need to consider and sit down and think about. I wonder about a safety plan. We'd be required to have one similar to other multi-purpose units here, multi-housing units that are in our city that have a requirement to provide that, so that we know during emergencies and emergency response how to deal with this location. So I do have some concerns. I assume that the wraparound services will be provided by a tribal health entity of some sort.
Not a problem at all, but I certainly think there's some things that have to be considered from my standpoint. But I think it's a little early for me to assume what we could be facing until we get there. So I just wanted to address that point. Yvonne, do we have any other hands in the audience right now?
We do not. If you want to speak in the audience, please raise your hand. There's an icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, you will need to press *9. We have Renee Rowe ready to speak. Okay, Renee, you can go. You have to unmute yourself.
Hey, everybody.
There we go.
I've been involved with the Cloverdale Community Advisory Group for a while now, and this project, somehow I missed that it was on the roadmap, so I definitely listening have some concerns, like some of the other projects in Cloverdale, because this is receiving government funding. How much does Cloverdale as a city have influence on the trajectory of the project, or is it kind of another done deal? I have that question, I guess, for Todd and Mayor Land, from your perspective, how much community feedback do we have, and the concern about the location near the elementary?
Renee, I have to apologize. You're cutting out really bad during the speaking. Is there any way you could repeat a little bit at the end about what you said for me?
Sure. Just curious about how much influence or actually control does the city of Cloverdale have on this project? This seems like one of the other projects we've talked about where with state funding, we don't have a lot of control or influence, and it's more of a done deal. And so I'm wondering, in this kind of scenario where we have concern about the location near the school and concern about resources from the police department, we should essentially cover fine, et cetera, how much control does the city have over the project at all, or is it basically think that already a done deal?
Renee, I'll give this.
Chair, if I can too, I think I'll try to address your question, Ms. Rowe. I think to reframe it for the group, what you're asking is, how much oversight, management input does the city have relative to the proposed project? And just to kind of touch on a couple of points, the director grant jury is an independent, basically authority in a lot of regards, and they can apply their own accord for federal and state funding assistance. And in this case, that's exactly what the director grant jury has done. In terms of Project Home Key funds, the way the program was designed is, for the most part, the projects that are covered under that funding program are exempt from CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, and therefore, that's not something that we can necessarily look at. The state also tends to look at Project Home Key projects as ministerial projects for which the state kind of overrides our local land use authority and enables those projects through the state program guidelines. With that said, I think it is incumbent that the city, as well as Drake Creek Rancheria, work as best as we can collaboratively to address and discuss the community concerns and issues. I know we've done that with respect to their most recent development project. And so kind of a call for Chairman Wright and his team at LACO would be, can we sit down and work together to identify, what are the key concerns of the community, key concerns of the city, and work with them on addressing those concerns. I think that a vital partner at the table will be the school district as well. So we ensure that their concerns relative to adjacency to school property is also addressed. And that's the kind of commitment that I would seek as your city manager from the Rancheria, is just to continue to work together at the table, discuss issues, and work on making sure we address this as best we can. Let's say that we'll iron out all the differences at the end of the day, but I think the goal would be to collaborate and address these issues as best as we can. I hope I answered your question, Mr.
David, you touched on a really good point. It's in everyone's mutual self-interest to make sure that the development of these units is successful. And the Dry Creek Rancheria, the tribe's been around this area for thousands of years. And this is an opportunity for the tribe to help rebuild the community that they've been a part of for longer than Cloverdale's been in existence. And the steps that they're taking with the Bidukale senior development, with this home key development, these are all things to help shore up the community for those vulnerable individuals that currently live in the community. So they're trying to provide a public service. And David, you're spot on when you said it's one of those situations where we're all going to be working together, putting our collective heads together, working with the police department, the fire department, and all the government agencies to make sure that the residents are successful in living here. And it isn't going to be, the perception that this is somehow going to be a dumping ground for troubled individuals is probably, well, it is the furthest thing from what the tribe wants to achieve with creating this development. Everybody wants it to succeed for all the right reasons, and we can't afford to have missteps. In affordable housing, you're only as good as your last development, and the proof is in what you put on the ground and how you manage it on a day-to-day basis. So this is one of those opportunities that Dry Creek has to be able to demonstrate to the residents of Cloverdale, this is what we want to do. This is what we're saying we're going to do. Once the proposal is fully baked, you'll see all the pieces of it. And if it doesn't pass muster with the state of California, they're not going to get funded. So you have to have all the players, all the pieces that are necessary to make a successful development in order to get the funding. So there's a lot of players involved in this project that have a vested interest in seeing it succeed. So I think the concerns are valid, but I think those of us that have been involved in affordable housing, Dave and I have been doing this for more than a couple of years. These are things that we've been dealing with for our entire careers. How do you create a community for individuals that need more assistance than the quote unquote average citizen? And that's what we spend our lives doing. And that's what our commitment is. That's why we brought in folks like Lieben and Kate to assist. So I'm not going to say just trust us. You'll see the proposal as it evolves before we submit it. And as I said, it's going to be vetted by the state of California, the Department of Community Housing and Community Development. And they're not going to allow it to go forward unless it's got a good supportive services plan. It's got a good plan for the renovation of the units, that there's economic feasibility demonstrated in the budgets, that you have commitments of funds and the resources to be able to make it successful. So
Bruce, I'm glad you brought this up because we have a very good working relationship with Chairman Wright and LACO. And I have to almost sit here and just brag about you guys for a second, because you worked really close and really well with us, with the city, and also with the school district when I was there a couple of years ago. So I'm not trying to hammer down on you guys in any way, or make this whole project out to be negative. So I want to make sure that I get it known to you and very clear that you guys have done great up to this point. We love it, and we appreciated everything you've done for us. So with that said, there's been a lot of unknowns or ideas, or I think this will be the way it goes with this project. And it doesn't solidify the good fuzzy feeling inside of me when I have to look out for the best of my community. So with that said, would we be able to be part of your management plan or working together with the tribe and with Laco to help make these decisions as to what is going to happen on that property if it goes forward? Would you guys be willing to now at least here say, yes, we will sit down with you and negotiate plans so that we're all on the same page and agree and can work together, versus you saying it's in all of our best interest, when I can say, no, it's in your best interest to make it work, but if it fails, it hurts our town. And I don't want it to be that. I want it to succeed. I don't ever want one negative thing to come out of something that we do as a community.
Yeah, I think one of the differences between the Viducali development is that it's been a 3-year process to get the development to the city council for approval. The Home Keep program, last year was the first kickoff year. This year, the notice of funding availability came out in late September, and the tribe had to decide, is this something they wanted to pursue? So it was probably in mid to late October that the tribe started looking for potential sites, and we looked at one for a month or so, and it didn't pan out. So really, we only identified this site recently, and that's the emergency nature of Home Key is to try to get folks that are the most vulnerable off the street and into housing. So it's a rapid response program, and that's why it feels weird, that you haven't had 3 years to think about this. You haven't seen it evolve over time. As Dave mentioned, they just got Northern Circle to their board of directors agreed to do the property management. That was, I believe it was yesterday, Dave, or so it was recent.
That was they met on Saturday.
Yeah, so
and
it's
we're going to
recent.
follow up with them this week to firm things up.
So to be able to provide you with once now that they're on board, they'll be able to answer the questions about, well, what does the property management plan look like? They'll be able to hand you a document saying, this is the property management plan. What's the vetting process for residents coming into the development? This is part of the property management plan. They'll be able to lay that out. So everything has happened within a relatively short period of time, but it's being handled by individuals that have that type of experience. So we will be able to provide you with a copy of a property management plan that's customized and catered for this type of development in this location. Those resident selection procedures will be laid out, so you'll be able to see them. And I don't want to put words in Dave's mouth or in Dry Creek's, but our working relationship with Cloverdale has been one of collaboration, and I don't see that changing with this one. The only difference is the time span is being compressed by nature of the availability of funding. And because it's emergency funding, there may or may not be a third round. This is a limited time funding that we're trying to take advantage of to help benefit the community of Cloverdale, because we know there's homeless individuals that need help. And if we can put them into this development, that will free up space in other developments for other folks. So Dave, if I've misspoken about the spirit of collaboration and cooperation, I don't exactly know what form we're going to be able to make that take. If we're looking at an application that we have to submit by mid to late January, but if we get approved, then we'll have time to be able to sit down and get everybody familiar with what's going to happen. We'll do as much as we can between now and the time the application is submitted. And if we're awarded, then we'll definitely be spending more time, especially with PD and the fire department. And I don't know, Dave, did you have anything else you want to add to that?
So basically, you're saying vote it through and then read it later.
No, that is not what I'm saying. You'll be able to see the management plan and the selection criteria.
But we won't be able to take part in that process. That's what I'm asking, is the city wants to take part and work with you guys to create this plan, not just have it handed to us on an email and say, hey, here's our plan. We've already moved forward and purchased and have the funding. We want to be part of this to make sure it's successful. Because if it's not, then it puts it only on your back and we're the ones that look dumb for allowing it to go through, even though it was all done by you guys. So if we all work on it together, then we are all invested in the project.
Well, I understand the concern, and I'm Dave, can you help me out with this? I'm guessing as soon as we have a draft of a property management plan and selection criteria, we'll be able to make it available to the advisory committee and give you opportunity for review and comment. That seems like a no-brainer. It's just a matter of how soon we get that and how soon we could get it to you and how much time you'll be able to have to look at it.
Yeah, I think you were referring to me as the Dave. I think we have a few Daves in the room. Yes, the tribe, and I can't speak for the tribe, the chairman does that, but I'm sure the tribe would want to partner with the city, make them fully aware of what's going on, review some of these plans with the city. The tribe is a government itself, so there is a bit of as a sovereign nation, the tribe appreciates developing these working relationships with communities, appreciates the opportunity to actually regain some of the land, some of the housing that was lost historically. I understand the concerns that were raised tonight. I'm sure that the city of Cloverdale and Healdsburg, which are partnering and actually meeting right now, are probably addressing some of the same questions. It's a challenge for us because traditionally we've only had a small stream of federal funds for housing, and AB 1010 opened up new opportunities for tribes in California that had actually been opened up in several other states a long time before. So there is a spirit of cooperation here that you'll see from the tribe. And just one misconception that was brought on earlier, Housing First is not no barrier to entry. Housing First is low barrier to entry. There will be some conditions that will have to be in place before people even come into the program. And there will be some screening and vetting that will go on throughout the entire process and while the people are there.
Chair, if you're ready to wrap up this item, I just wanted to say that this was brought to our attention relatively in a short period ago before this meeting. That we did ask the team for LACO to present this, provide an overview of their application to the homeless committee. And so I just want to take the opportunity to thank them for being willing to, on relatively short notice, come before the homeless committee and provide us an update on their application. I think it does reflect their interest in working with us and collaborating with us. So they do, as Dave pointed out, they are a sovereign entity. So I just want to acknowledge that they did address our request to come before the subcommittee and we did it on relatively short notice.
All right, well, thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. We look forward to
excuse me, there is one hand raised in the audience, Tasha Hart.
Please go.
Okay, one second. Tasha, if you unmute yourself, you should be able to speak. There you go.
Yeah, I heard, hi, my name is Tasha Hart. I heard Todd mentioning something about like the success rate. And I know according to people who deal with things like this in Los Angeles, California, homelessness has been made worse with housing or by liberalizing drug laws and opposing mandating treatment for mental health and drug addiction. I mean, this is right across the street, pretty much from a school, two schools, an elementary school and a high school. So I definitely have concern about that. And I'm hoping that there is also a strength relationship and coordination with law enforcement, especially in that area. I mean, the livelihoods of children walking to school and being safe at school is very important. I would really like to see some sort of proof of successful stories that are in this program, because there hasn't been a program in California at all that has shown, even a 99% success rate. In fact, most programs in this state have failed all communities. So until, we see some sort of evidence of success rate, this is something that I don't believe that the community should be, for. The models we have now have not prevented a single case of mental illness, nor have they alleviated their choice to be drug addicts, which in turn, giving up their right to housing. So to me, that's a definite concern, and we should be looking at that. And yeah, so if you could come up with some incentives of what it is going to be to live there, what that would look like, and the success rate for this program, it would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Let's see. Leland, do you know the answers on that? On success rates in Project Home Key right now? I know that you're in the middle of it. So.
Oh, I don't have it at my fingertips, but there is published information on the HCU website that could be forwarded to the committee.
Thank you. Any other hands, Yvonne?
No more speakers.
Yes, ma'am, in the room.
I'm sorry, this might be internet users. I'm curious.
What's your name, please?
My name is Val. I'm new to the community. I've worked with the homeless, domestic violence, and sexual assault survivors in Alameda County before. I apologize to everybody if I'm not legislative. I'm wondering about pets. A lot of people have to condemn them, but what's going to happen with the pets? Is that something solid to it? And then my other part of it is success. It's very, very hard to define. A lot of the funders want to hear success, they're giving us money, they want to hear that. And it's very hard to quantify or qualify or label what's a success. I totally get what Ms. Hart's saying. It's extremely hard to.
Thank you, Val. Appreciate that. Well, since another hands, thanks again to Laco and to the Rancheria for being here for the presentation. I really appreciate it and look forward to more information for council. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for meeting with us.
Okay. Chair Land, there is another hand, Matthew.
Okay. Do you guys mind, Bruce and Dave, if you're still here, you mind listening in case you have to answer anything?
Okay.
We'll do one last and then we're.
Okay, that'll do it. Matthew, you may speak now. Okay, hold on one second. Matthew, you can speak now. Unmute yourself.
There, am I there?
There you go, yes.
Okay. So my question, so this is about homeless in the Native American community, correct?
It's about the Drag Creek Rancheria purchasing some motels for the homeless within their tribe, yeah.
Okay, so they want to purchase these motels, correct?
Correct.
Okay, why are you putting money into buying these motels instead of putting it into the property that you purchased from the Salvation Army? That Layton Springs property is huge. Why not put the money into that now? Because it's a great facility, it's huge. I know you want to develop it, but why not put the money into that so that you can protect your tribe and get them homed? They need to have homes. I understand what your concern is, but why not put the money into that now and have it there? Because you own that property. You bought it, you purchased it. It's very big. There are all facilities there. Why not put the money into that now?
Could I
That's
answer
my
that
concern.
question?
Yes, please.
That's a different tribe. That's Layton, not Dry Creek Rancheria. Layton has actually embarked on a very large housing project outside of Windsor.
Yes, I know that. I know.
Yeah, the Dry Creek
I know people in
Rancheria.
Windsor.
Yeah, I live in Windsor myself. The Dry Creek Rancheria has members scattered throughout the county. And I understand your point, but it is a different tribe, a different sovereign nation, and they will do what they want to do, and Dry Creek will do what it needs to do to help its tribal members.
So to clarify, you guys can't work together for this? I mean, Tasha's concern was these motels are right next to schools, okay? And I appreciate that because it's kind of, you're kind of putting yourself in that realm of kids going by and look, it's not a great location for that particular thing because of how close it is to schools and kids, because they go to school, they walk to school. Okay, so you're not involved with that. Okay, so now I know. But I'm just saying that location is very sensitive for a lot of people that that don't even know this is going on, but it's a very sensitive place because of how close it is to the high school and how close it is to the elementary school. And as a concerned citizen, the vetting process of, are these people going in for treatment? Are they going to be treated? Are you going to make sure they're not doing things they shouldn't? I mean, is there a vetting process to those that would be going there if you purchase this property, or is that out the door? I mean, that is the question.
Yeah, and I said before, it's not no barrier to entry. They will need to meet program requirements. And they will need to follow program rules while they're there. You mentioned people, living there. You actually have a situation where they're motels, and people are coming and going all the time.
Right.
So they're typically adults that are staying in the motels.
Well, there's one motel there that's basically not a motel anymore. People actually live there, and I understand that. I'm not.
This is kind of the same thing.
Dave and Matthew, hold on a second. What I would like to do is, Matthew, they kind of answer this as far as they can at this point. What I'd like to do is have, when this comes to the city council, have you bring a question there as well, because it's one of those things that we have to look into this further and let them get into it to see where they're going to be. And once it starts moving forward, then we'll bring it to council and continue the question an answer regarding the motel versus that housing.
Okay.
The answer that we keep hearing is it's kind of the same answer. And so I don't want to bother Dave with the same thing. I want to have us further this discussion at council with that question later on. So.
Okay.
I thank you for that, and I thank you for your time on this.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Ron, if you can do me a favor, we're going to move on to the next topic. If you can remove all the panelists that don't need to be on the meeting for the rest of it. And thank you guys once again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we're going to move on to the update on local homelessness activities. Let's see, Debbie Howell on there, Yvonne, or
Yes.
Or yeah, Jody. I see Jody's there. Jody might be able to help us with what's going on. Anything new with Alexander Valley? Either one.
Jody, do you want to give an update on your progress to date?
Sure. Yeah, I've been working with Reach for Home and working with some of the emergency housing vouchers. There was a little bit of a lag in Alexander Valley getting brought into that game. So we were a little bit late, but making it happen and successfully getting some of our patients on the wait list, both the choice voucher program and the emergency housing voucher, working through the coordinated entry system and also looking into becoming having an access point, being an access point for coordinated entry as well, just to make the process a little streamline that a bit. So yeah, been moving forward on that, which has been great.
Thank you, Jody. Appreciate that. Debbie, anything else?
No, Todd, that's all we have right now. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot. So that's very good. We appreciate you moving forward. Colleen with Wallace House.
Yeah, hi, everybody. So, just a lot of activity around the holidays. People tend to be focused on giving toys to the kids and all that, and donations. But in addition to that, we are also very involved with the housing voucher challenges. Our supportive housing case manager, Jessica Chavez, has been spending most of her time on that. The biggest challenge that we're finding is that landlords are just not there. I mean, we don't have any vacancies. For starters, there are a lot of vouchers and applicants flooding the market throughout Sonoma County. And to give you an example, we had one client that we're working with that applied 20 different apartments. And one of the landlords accepted her, but because she was $100 under the income, it was not accepted by the housing authority. So we kept moving on and finally located someone that was willing to accept her and her income. And then the challenge was with the security deposit, which was $2,600, which is a lot of money. And unless the landlord's willing to wait for season of sharing or community action partnership, the agency itself has to be willing to step up and come up with that money. So, fortunately, we have that funding available, but not all agencies will, especially to the tune of the number of vouchers and clients that they have. So, and this is with motivated clients. We have, clients who are actually actively looking for apartments themselves. So it's very, very challenging. And Jessica's doing an awesome job. We do believe that we placed our clients in permanent housing with these vouchers, but it's not done until it's done. That's pretty much the update. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Colleen. Appreciate that. Anna, Reach for Home.
Hi, everyone. I'll just echo what Jody and Colleen have been saying, and just as a heads up to both of you ladies, if your clients need deposit or any kind of assistance, let us know because we might have some funding for that. And then just a regular update, Margaret's still working with Chief Ferguson with Alexander Valley and Wallace House, just case conferencing, doing some incremental progress, still working on the vouchers. And we're also trying to figure out a solution for winter weather for those most vulnerable in Cloverdale. So we're hoping to have a plan in more detail soon. We'll keep you all updated. And we haven't heard back from Project Home Key about the L&M Hotel in Healdsburg. So we're hoping to hear within the next coming weeks. So we're excited about that. So that's our report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yvonne, any hands in the audience?
No hands.
Thank you so much. Moving on to Police Chief Ferguson to respond to homelessness. Great, thank you, Chair Lance. I'm going to jump right in where Anna just left off and say that we've seen some great progress. As you know, we have kind of a break-off group here trying to really focus on our most vulnerable and critical individuals here in our community. We've been successful since our last meeting. I was contacted by the Sonoma County Behavioral Health Supervisor. And in our discussions, she informed me she's given all of the necessary paperwork that we provided regarding one of our more critical individuals and the need to get something more sustainable and long-term. And I will say that the supervisor and I discussed a plan on how to approach the next time we have to deal with a mental health crisis. And although we haven't met that yet with this individual, everybody in the police department understands the plan and how we're going to implement this plan if we come across that need. And with any luck and with any hope, we're really going to start putting the wheels in motion on specifically one individual that we've talked about a lot. So again, I want to thank everybody involved on that breakout team that's really focusing on these individuals. I think we're going to finally get somewhere. And on that note, just today I received an email that the crisis stabilization unit is going to start reopening and taking individuals starting tomorrow on a part-time basis. That could be very beneficial for us. There is some criteria that have to be met, and that could be a challenge. But for the most part, we're hoping to be able to utilize this in the coming months. So we'll see how that goes, and maybe I can provide an update or anything from that next week. And that's really, other than the normal steps that I have, that's really all I want to discuss. That's a lot, and that's really good for our challenge for that number one individual and for others. That's great. Any other comments from? I'd just like to mention that the point in time count will be conducted on January 28th, and they are looking for volunteers, and we'll be putting more information up on our website and on the newsletter. Perfect. And if you can't find it on the website or newsletter, you can email myself, and I'll make sure it gets to the proper channel. Debbie, I see a hand.
I just didn't hear what Chief Ferguson said, and I think I heard him say the crisis stabilization unit will be coming up to Cloverdale. Was that correct?
No.
Oh, well, okay.
Sorry about that, Debbie. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
much better.
Yeah, what I was indicating is I got an email today indicating that they're going to start accommodating direct admissions beginning tomorrow on a part-time basis. And I was explaining how that could be beneficial for us, and I was going to provide an update, hopefully at the next meeting, if we happen to utilize that, and that service winds up being good for us in our cases.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
There's another hand, Leanne.
Okay, Leanne, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question about the point in time count. Who is supervising that this year? Because we all know the last official one that happened in 2020 did not go well. And I have no problem volunteering for that. I have participated in 7 previously in the state of Virginia. And actually I was a guide for the volunteers to bring them out to the encampments, and I was shut down by Reach from Home from participating. So I have a major concern about that. And that's all.
Yeah. The group is called Applied Survey Research. It's a different group. And I would love to have you volunteer, and if you do, I will as well. Wilson, yeah, I think we have your email, and we'll make sure we get to see you as soon as we get it. That work? Can you hear me?
Perfect, thank you, yeah, thank you. I know Applied Research was the one who managed the count before, but it was Reach for Home that they used to manage the volunteers last time, and it didn't go well. So that's my main concern, but I will be more than glad to volunteer. I have the experience to do so and the willingness to, even though last time didn't go well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any other hands, Yvonne?
No.
The next meeting, I don't know if we have a next meeting scheduled because we're changing the.
Yes, if we follow the typical schedule, the next meeting would be Tuesday, January 11th. But at that time, council will have not formally, by resolution, adopted the committee members, the appointed committee members that are designated by council. So if each chair, if you want to, you can continue to serve as chair until that formal appointment is made for the next calendar year, and continue with that date, or if you'd like to wait until that the council makes the decision on the 12th, we can bring back on the 26th for formal adoption by resolution.
Let's set that date, January 11th, 1 o'clock in this room. 1:30, 1:30, sorry, 1:30.
Thank you.
Yeah, early afternoon meeting. So that'll be January 11th, 2022 at 1:30 for our next meeting. Thank you to everyone here that took part and was on the meeting listening. I appreciate everything. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and see you in 2022. Adjourned.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.